This 360 video looks nothing like a normal 360 camera because it is not. You are looking at a new Canon 360 camera almost nobody is talking about. And it is shooting this in 10K. Look up at the sun. Look at the flare. Look at the detail down the street. It's so good. Now watch what happens when I switch to the Insta360 X5. Same scenes, same time, not the same image quality. And this is exactly why so many people love the convenience of Action 360 camera but still hate the image quality.
So what is this Canon setup? Why does it look so much better? And can it actually give you DSLR-like 360 image quality for virtual tour, immersive film, and Apple Vision Pro? Let's break this all down in immersive. So what is this secret Canon 360 camera? It's not this one. Sorry, that one never came out. This setup is the Canon's new RF 7-40mm L Fisheye paired with the Canon C50 shooting at Open Gate. This is the widest fisheye Canon fisheye has ever made with a 190 degrees equidistant field of view. This is like 10 degrees wider than the older Canon EF 8-15mm fisheye. Ideally, there is enough overlap to stitch front and back 180 degrees into a full immersive 360 video. It also gives you built-in ND and CPL filter, plus a fast f2.8 aperture for better light control and noticeable more close-up subject separation than a typical 360 camera, as you see right here. With Open Gate on the C50 or the new R6 Mark III, this setup gives you an almost 10K 360 image with a 15+ stop of dynamic range. And what you're seeing right now was shot on this exact setup. Look around, see if you can spot the stitch line. I will wait. Now let's cut to the Insta360 X5. If you look down, you should be able to see my Canon setup right here. This is not my full review of the new RF 7-15mm fisheye lens. That review is coming next, and it will be serious technical deep dive, at least 30 minutes long. Against the old Canon EF 8-15mm, my new Laowa cinema fisheye lens with the PL mount, Sony E mount, and the RF mount here, and even the Blackmagic Ursa Cine Immersive. So if you want a real-world, unbiased, complete review, not just another brand-friendly first impression fluff, subscribe now, because I am comparing the Canon, the Laowa, the Blackmagic side by side, and the result may surprise you. For this 360 setup, the camera sits on a Nodal head. If you work in a professional virtual tour world, that's nothing new. That's exactly how we capture high-quality 360 photo for Zillow, Redfin, or Matterport. But in 2026, 360 photos alone are not enough. For high-end client, 360 video on Apple Vision Pro is how you land contract and new clients. And the good news is, this exact same gear can do both. Because this lens gives you 190 degrees of coverage, you only need 2 shots for both photo and video to create a full immersive 360 images like what you're seeing right here. Now, if money is no object, the easiest solution is obvious. Buy 2 Canon C50 body, buy 2 of this new fisheye lens, and now you basically have a Canon 360 camera. But most of us are not that wealthy, so instead, we use a nodal shooting technique. Let me show you now.
First, we find the lens No-Parallax point, and with this lens, it is actually very easy. You just align the front edge of the lens with the center of your nodal point. What I'm using here is the Nodal Ninja R1, a very small pocket-sized nodal head. I travel a lot, so size and weight matter. I mount a long Leaphoto Arcus plate, and I make sure the edge of the plate line up with the edge of the fisheye lens. Then I lock everything down, and that gives me a compact nodal rig. You do not need this exact setup, by the way. I also like to use my Arcus Swift Core 75 here, which is a more solid setup with a more precise leveling. But honestly, even a cheap travel tripod with a degree panel can work. Something like this $200 Unite-Z Valcam travel tripod is enough to get started. The shooting process is very simple. First, record your front shot, then rotate the camera 180 degrees and record the back plate for roughly in the same duration. I like the Canon C50 here because it is a cinema camera with very high image quality, but you can also use the new Canon R6 Mark III, which give you the same open gate resolution, 6960 by 4640 at 30 frames per second in Canon RAW LT.
Now, here is the main limitation of this workflow. In full frame 3.2 open gate, we do not get 60 frames per second like we do in 16:9 full frame mode. So if you want a final delivery at 60 frames per second or even 90 frames per second for Apple Vision Pro right here, you still need to use an upframe workflow as I teach right here with Apple Compressor or DaVinci Resolve AI optical flow. Also, do not use the Canon R5C or the R5 Mark II for this specific 360 workflow. So for this workflow, get the C50 or at least the R6 Mark III so you can actually use the lens properly in open gate. I will go much deeper on the C50 versus R5C versus R6 Mark III for VR 180 filmmaking in the next review. So if you like technical deep dive just like that, make sure to subscribe. Now you need a stitching tool to put the two fisheye shots together. Canon EOS VR utility can defish Canon fisheye footage, but it still cannot stitch a full 360 video workflow like this one, or at least not yet. So for now, my go-to tool is SGO Mistika VR. And by the way, if you do not have the camera set up just yet, I have made sample footage available for download so you can practice and follow along with this tutorial.
Inside Mistika, create a new project and set your timeline to 9280 by 4640 at 30 frames per second. Then drop in both fisheye clips. Now just right click, load my camera preset, and there you go. It is stitched into full 360. I provide this template for free to download, link in description down below. From here, you can optionally enable optical flow to help smooth the stitching area right here, and you can increase the stitch feather a little bit if you want to soften the blend between the two shots. Once that is done, you can render it out for YouTube 360 or for Apple Vision Pro. And this is where my new free apps come in. Drop your 360 render from Mistika into Hugh Spatial Injector, choose 360 video, and the output is ready for YouTube upload. One important detail here, we never downscale the resolution. The upload stay at 9280 by 4640, close to 10K. That means Google seen this as a 10K class upload, and that gives you access to the YouTube highest encoding pipeline for 360 video. By comparison, Insta360 X5, DJI OSMO 360, and most GoPro style 360 camera top out well below this. And that is a huge reason why this small consumer 360 camera will never ever look as good compared to the Canon setup I just showed you. After that, take the injected YouTube file, drop it back into my app, and use step 2 to convert it into Apple Vision Pro APMP. This output can be viewed on Apple Vision Pro in the highest possible 10K quality. And this is how you impress premium realistic clients by letting them to experiencing a property with a level of realism that flat video by your competitors simply cannot deliver.
Now, Mistika VR is not free, but the good news is you can also use my template with the free Mistika Boutique Educational Edition. Here is how. Now, this workflow is not perfect. If you are shooting indoor with inconsistent lighting, like right now, you may see subtle color mismatch around the stitch line. Because with this setup, we only get about 10 degrees of overlap, and that is not a lot. For control indoor virtual tool like this one, the more proper approach is usually a 3-shot setup at 120 degrees per turn. They give you more overlap, more flexibility, and clear stitching. So, if you want to learn how to generate your own stitching template for whatever setup you need, whether that is 3 cameras, 4 cameras, or fixing a nodal point that was slightly off on set, I make a much more advanced tutorial over on my Patreon. That one goes way deeper into the technical side, so I want to save it for the viewer who really want to master this workflow. Now, in the next 2D video, we are going to review this new Canon RF 7 to 14mm fisheye for immersive warranty production. I will test it on the Canon R5C, Canon C50, and Canon R6 Mark III to show you the real pros and cons of each setup compared to the Blackmagic Ursa Cine immersive camera. Because right now, a lot of reviews online are coming from creators or companies who do not actually know how to use a lens like this correctly for immersive production and professional virtual tour work. And that is the gap I want to close with this series. Just like my Canon dual fisheye tutorial helped a lot of creators level up, this new series is going to do the same thing for 360 video, virtual tours, and immersive production on Apple Vision Pro. So if you are new here, subscribe, because the next video is not a first impression. It is a full 30+ minute technical review and tutorial designed to help you make better gear decisions, build better immersive workflow, and deliver a higher end result for your clients. I will see you in the Canon fisheye deep dive.